Welcome everybody to Big Easy Baseball. We're having debates here. Today's debate we're talking about is Jazz Chisholm a good fit for the cover of MLB The Show 23? It's a really hot topic right now, contested by many people. With me, I have Rick Talks Baseball and the voice of Evan. If you guys want to give a brief introduction, go right ahead.
Well, basically, my name's Evan, and I'm the funny one.
And I love to debate. I'm Rick Talks Baseball on Instagram and TikTok. I do historical baseball stats and information and stories.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. First episode. So, Evan, you're here supporting the side of Jazz Chisholm. Think he's a good fit for the cover. If you want to dive into a little bit on why, that would be great.
Okay, so the reason why I think Jazz Chisholm is a good fit for MLB The Show, it's really threefold because this is all about marketing the game of baseball and marketing MLB. That's what's at the root of all this. And what Jazz does for that is he hits on three key points. First and foremost, he's a good player. I mean, he doesn't have the biggest bat in the game, but he's a solid contact hitter. He will take you over the fence in just about any ballpark. So he's got a big personality. He's fun to talk to. He's fun to watch, especially he has arguably the most well-known celebration in all baseball, like with the Euro step he does at home plate after every home run. You see his teammates joining in too. Like he's just got a big, vibrant personality. And on top of that, he's young too. He just 25 yesterday. So this is a guy in Jazz Chisholm that's going to be around for a while. So you want somebody who's, again, big personality, and Jazz's personality just is, if not even bigger. And really what it comes down to for me is, you've marketed your league well when you get to the end of the regular season and fans can genuinely name not just all 30 teams, but one player on all 30 teams. The NFL does a great job at that. And this is a good way to get the MLB at least that level, so to speak.
Right. Awesome. And now, Rick, you're on the other side of this argument. You think there's probably a bunch of better fits than Jazz. So if you just want to start off, tell us your side. Go for it.
Sure. Jazz to me hasn't proved anything yet. In 3 seasons, he's right about league average. His OPS in his first 2 seasons doesn't even hit 100, and he barely has a 300 on base percentage. Hasn't led the league in any offensive category in his career, and the only thing he's led in is caught stealing and errors committed in 2021. And this guy is the guy who's claiming he's going to be a Gold Glove center fielder. I do believe that there are better options on there. No hardware, no Silver Sluggers, no Gold Gloves, no MVPs. So we're talking about flash. He doesn't have any of the hardware to back it up. And one of the other things on there is he hasn't played an entire season. Last season, he only played 60 games. How can you market a game to someone who isn't even on the field consistently? If you're going to try to draw people to your game, you want to see them play, and you want someone on the cover that people will go and see at the ballpark. Can't do that if he's injured all the time.
Right. Awesome. And then if you just want to explore that further, Evan, I think it's true. He doesn't really have the hardware to back up exactly, the flash that he puts out. But what do you think about that?
Well, if we just go off of like stats and awards and all that to decide like who gets to be on the cover of MLB The Show, that's not really the exact best way to go about deciding this, because you got to remember this is a video game cover. This is a video game cover, and what they want you to take away from this video game is that it's fun. And guys like Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, even Max Scherzer, they would probably be the cover if this was just strictly who had the best stats in 2022 or who has the most awards. But the problem is they don't really have as much personality as Jazz Chisholm, because that's a whole other aspect in this. And with Mike Trout and with Aaron Judge, you put them on the cover, and it's just saying, hey, this is a game about baseball. You might like it, you might not like it, but hey, this is a game about baseball. With Jazz Chisholm, now it's saying, hey, this is a game about baseball, and it's fun. This is the type of game you're going to want to play for hours and hours and hours, if not a whole day. And that's really what you want when you're marketing a video game these days.
That's a good point.
Right.
To counteract that point, then put on Julio Rodriguez. He's a better option. He won the Rookie of the Year last year. He's marketable. He's a 5-tool player. And in one season, he's got a better WAR than Jazz does in his career. The man had a 147 OPS plus. I know we're going away from stats, but who can forget his All-Star game where Liam Hendricks says, "Throw me the ball." I mean, everyone got a nice little chuckle, and it was entertaining. I do believe that another reason is the marketability, but the marketability in Miami, who's in the bottom of attendance, how many people are really going to games as compared to the Mariners? Mariners are 15th in payroll, and they're on the upswing, while the Marlins continue to be at the cellar. So, I mean, you're talking about drawing more fans, more people going, more marketability. I think Seattle's a pretty good market.
Indeed, Seattle is a good market, and I truly believe Julio Rodriguez will eventually be on the cover of MLB The Show, probably next year. But another thing to consider with Jazz Chisholm is you're talking about a team in the Miami Marlins who has one of the more vibrant color schemes in all the sports. Like, they had a lot that the creative team could have had to work with in terms of making it flow with the background. You had the typical white jerseys. You got the road gray, although their road gray is kind of like toward the bottom of the road grays, if you really want to split hairs on that. But they also have the black jerseys, the aqua blue. They have the City Connect red jerseys. Like, there was just a lot for the design team to pull from, and I feel like that was also a factor in this.
Yeah, I could see that. My claim is, if you're going to market to the biggest markets, and that was a reason too that I was thinking even Aaron Judge was a better option, because he had let's just face it, he had the best season in a while since Bonds. I would go as far as saying that. I mean, this man broke the American League record for home runs last year. In New York, I mean, you could at one point during last season, other sports were showing Aaron Judge in the middle of a game. So what does that tell you? If other sports are like, hey, we're going to interrupt right now to go and show Aaron Judge's home run race, to me, that's marketable. I know he's missing his personality, but it'll come around.
No, in New York, you can have a personality. That's how you get caught up. That's why I think he's good for New York. But if you want to respond to that, Evan, go ahead.
Well, New York, you actually can have a personality to an extent. I mean, Pete Alonso, we know him as he's basically being billed as the try-hard guy. You have Yoenis Cespedes. He had a bit of a personality to him. Max Scherzer still got that. Like, Max Scherzer still got the whole "I'll bite your head off" type look that he has every time he's pitching.
Right.
Like, you don't want to get within like 50 yards of the guy until like he's done for the day. But yeah, the whole big market thing is kind of a slippery slope though, because when you go that route, it's only a matter of time before you start saying guys like Gleyber Torres deserve to be like on the MLB The Show cover instead of guys like, say, Nolan Arenado.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you got to be careful also about the market. You can't just put anybody. That is a great point. There's lots of players who wouldn't be as deserving in those bigger markets.
And Rick, I'm curious. This kind of devolves into our discussion about Derek Jeter earlier. But if I went around the United States and I said, "Who do you know Jazz Chisholm or do you know J-Rod?" I feel like a majority of people would say I've heard of Jazz Chisholm first. He's been in the league longer. For some reason, you're always hearing his name. So what are your thoughts on that?
See, I thought the opposite on that. I feel like more people would know J-Rod. I would be interested to see, like, I was saying almost start up a series just asking people if they know these certain guys. I mean, see who knows, asking a different variety of people. But that was one thing that I had brought up, was just like, with the cover, let's be real. In the all sake of argument, we can argue all day, but in the end, people are still going to buy the game, no matter who's on the cover. If you love the game, you're going to buy it. The whole thing that the debate is drawing people in. You know what I mean? And like you said, it is going to matter who knows, because it's all going to be word of mouth. You hear who is on the cover. And let's face it, the more we talk about this and the more we debate, the more it's creating Twitter topics, TikTok. It's all over TikTok. So it's actually getting them exposure. So who knows if they put them on there to draw more conversation. Maybe that was their marketing ploy in the end.
And with Jazz Chisholm, there's a couple things to consider. First of all, even if you might not know the name Jazz Chisholm, you've definitely seen his Euro step before. You've definitely seen his Euro step, and you're either one or two people. You're the type that says, hey, this guy is fun. I like watching him play. We should have more guys like Jazz Chisholm in the game. or you're the guy that says, how dare he showboat after a home run? Like, somebody should put him in his place. They need to bean him the next time up. So, but either way, you've seen the Euro step. But at the same time, they do have one thing in common. Jazz Chisholm and Julio Rodriguez were both on teams that ended long, extremely long playoff droughts for their franchises. Jazz Chisholm was on the Miami Marlins team that made the playoffs in 2020 for the first time since 2003, ended a 17-year playoff drought. And then Julio Rodriguez was on this past Mariners team that ended a 21-year playoff drought. But people would probably opt to Julio because Julio's playoff drought team was the most recent. And another thing Julio does have going for him that I must admit over Jazz is that he was part of a rookie class, in my opinion, that might be the most stacked rookie class we've seen in a while. I mean, you had, on the American League side, you had Julio Rodriguez, you had Adley Rutschman, and who was the third rookie of the year finalist for the American League? Miles Straw, right?
You're not talking about Stephen Kwan.
Yeah,
Stephen Kwan.
Yeah.
John Base
I had the wrong guardian. I had the wrong guardian. Yeah. It's just the fact that those three weren't even the only three that you could say in the American League that you could say were deserving to be American League Rookie of the Year finalists, because there was also Riley Green. And Julio just beat out all of them for Rookie of the Year. I must admit he does have that. But I feel like for Julio, it's a case of as soon as he gets that first full season from opening day until the very end of the playoffs, wherever that may be, he's going to be a shoo-in for the cover of MLB The Show. But until then, it's just, I don't know if you could give it to him.
So here's my thing, Evan. So did you say stats don't matter or they shouldn't matter as much?
Well, I'm saying stats shouldn't matter as much as in the numbers will probably like bore a casual fan to death. So like they can't be the end all be all, but you can't just throw them out the window like they don't mean anything, because they are pretty much our whole way of deciding like which player is better, like which players are the best in the league at each position in each category.
The interesting part was that Steven Russell Baseball on TikTok did put out why he did not want Jazz on the cover. And the interesting part was he was naming all the cover athletes and how they were all MVP. You know, they at least had some MVP votes in the season that they were chosen, and Jazz did not. I thought that was pretty interesting. And he had a lot of backlash for that, too. Because, I mean, you could think hardware, realistically, does hardware really even matter? A lot of it's a lot. Think about it. The All-Star Game's a fan vote. Gold Gloves are a joke. It's a popularity contest, and so are Silver Sluggers. Can we really gauge anything off that? There's also been MVP seasons in which people have gotten robbed. You know what I mean? So can we even trust any of those awards? So I do agree on that point. I mean, I get the flashiness with Jazz. I get it. I mean, it's about putting on a show, and I'm not one of the older people that will say, oh, no, celebrate. I'm all for throwing a jacket while they're rounding the bases. You know, I talked about it. Joe Nuxall once ran him backwards for his 100th home run. So it's not like, the older game, people didn't do that stuff. It just was a lot of people didn't accept it. So.
Also, we did mention Steven, so go baseball.
Go baseball.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as MVPs and awards, I do agree in that All-Star is most definitely a popularity contest in that, but MVP, I truly feel like a lot of the time does go to a player that, if nothing else, you could actually imagine them winning. Like you could see the case for them, like Nolan Arenado and Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge and people like that. But also, and I also do agree that like we need to just rethink the whole way we do the Golden Glove, because it's kind of weird to me that offense took precedence in a defensive award. But like, yeah, I feel like getting back to Jazz, it's that he's at the age and he's shown enough to realistically say that his better years may very well still be ahead of him. Like, remember, this is the kid that just turned 25 years old yesterday. Like, today is February 2nd, his birthday is February 1st. So he's still got a good decade, maybe decade and a half of baseball left. It's like his best years may be ahead, and really, I would say there's nothing left to say that the Marlins can't build a team around him, but that might be another discussion altogether.
Yeah. I just don't, like I said, I just don't see enough there. I mean, I'm not knocking his season. His prior 2 seasons were below 100 in OPS. That means he wasn't even league average. So to me, that doesn't scream put me on the cover. I think we're outweighing the personality over the player, which I think it should be a mix. I think, like, to your point, you don't want to just say, hey, let's give it to the best stats and let's give it to Judge, who was already on the cover. And that we've heard complaints about putting guys on the cover and over again. I say we just next year do a fan vote. Just fan vote. Then people complain, but the majority will win.
Yeah, exactly. And if we do a fan vote, you'll still see guys like Jazz Chisholm have a good shot. You'll see Julio Rodriguez be a front runner. And there'll still be those guys that we expect, like, again, the Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, Bryce Harper, and Juan Soto, and those guys. There's also going to be somebody in that fan vote guaranteed that you are never going to see coming.
Nestor Cortez.
We're talking like Jose Ramirez type. We're talking, who's another name? We're talking Jock Peterson type. We're talking Corbin Burns. We could even be talking Corbin Carroll. There could be like a guy that, like, there probably will be a guy that you just are not expecting to see as a finalist. And that's going to lead you to think, wait a minute, what makes this guy so good or so popular that we should put him on the show? And then you're going to start watching him. And then you're going to start paying more attention to him. And that could be like a backdoor way to market the game. And so that's why I'm in favor of a fan vote.
Also, you want to market the game, right? You want to reach different people. You want to grow the game, grow its popularity. Have we ever seen a pitcher on the cover?
If we have, it was a while ago.
I was just going to say it's been a long time. So why are we not picking a pitcher? Why are we necessarily going with a Jazz? There's plenty of pitchers out there. Maybe they don't have as much personality, but let's switch it up. Instead of hitter, let's do pitcher. There's plenty of pitchers that you could put on the cover too. A lot of the arguments are based on hitters, and it's been hitters forever. So why don't we throw a pitcher on there? You got so let's even, you said Miami, vibrant colors. Let's throw Sandy on there. Let's show Sandy Alcantara.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would make another good choice for a pitcher to put on there instead of, we don't need to just go hitter. Hitter is the flashier of the two. Tell me the last time somebody's like, hey, I want to go watch a pitching duel, unless you're a hardcore fan like us.
There's never been a pitcher on the cover, by the way. Never.
I think we just gave them their idea, Evan.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of pitchers to choose from. There's a lot of pitchers you could choose from. I'll even throw in some names that we haven't said yet. Corbin Burns, Corbin Burns is a solid option. Any one of the front end of Atlanta's front of pitching rotation. Max Fried, you could put Spencer Strider on there. There's a lot of good ways you could go with that. You could put Shane McClanahan, Tyler Glasnow on there.
Yeah, it's definitely a route to go. You could even, with the show, even have, I can't even remember. I know the road to the show, but you could literally market it around like a pitcher. You know what I mean? Like, start your pitcher, go through, have this exuberant storyline that you can go through as a pitcher. I feel like they're missing the boat with that. Kind of, take it in a completely different direction, because change is usually what's needed. Once you plateau with sales or fan base, you have to make a big change. And that's why I kind of a little bit agree that you need the personality, but why not just go out of left field and do pitchers? So.
Exactly. And to exclude pitchers like this really implies that defense is just not as important as offense. And if you really watch baseball, you know for a fact that is absolutely not true, because if you have the patience for it, and really that's what we often fail to tell people about a pitcher's duel. It's really entertaining baseball. It's entertaining baseball. Make no mistake about it. But you also got to have a little bit of patience, because there's not going to be the big flashy home runs. There's not going to be the wall scraping or anything like that. It's going to be a lot of fly balls, strikeouts, foul balls. It's going to be stuff like that. It's still entertaining to see pitchers go toe to toe and for 9 innings, especially in postseason baseball. Because some of the best games of this past season, if I'll be honest, ended like low-scoring games. They were pitchers' duels, especially Game 2, Tampa Bay against Cleveland. That was in the top three of postseason games for me last year. That game was like 0-0 going to the extras.
Mariners, Astros.
Exactly, Mariners, Astros too. This tension of who's gonna blink first, who's gonna make that one mistake first? And that's why you keep watching. At least that's why I keep watching.
Let me ask you both. If it wasn't, let's just take Jazz out of the equation for my sake. Makes me the winner. Just kidding. Who would you put on the cover if he wasn't an option? Who would be your second choice?
All right.
For me, to say Julio at this point would be hypocritical because I did say earlier that like it would ideally be somebody that goes from opening day all the way to the end of the playoff run, again, whatever that may be. And for Julio, he hasn't done that yet. And it's not, although I must stress, it is not practical to hold him to that standard because last year he was quite literally a rookie. But as for guys that have already been there, done that, my vote would probably be Juan Soto. Especially since you could put him on there in the Padres City Connect jersey, and that would create a cover that would really just pop and scream like, "Hey, come buy this game." Especially with Juan Soto, you could put him on there like either like mid swing, like they typically do when you see covers, or they could have had a cover where he's doing the Soto shuffle because everybody knows the Soto shuffle, and we're all like, there's two sides again. Like either you really love it or you really hate it, but either way, you've seen him do the Soto shuffle. So Juan Soto and the Soto shuffle could very well be. I'd like to see it on the cover in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Juan Soto, he's like one of the most charismatic players in baseball. Now, if we were talking about, all right, if you want my joke answer, if there's a fan vote for a pitcher, it would be Nestor Cortez. No question. No, everybody loves that man. And he's elected. He almost outpitched Garrett Cole this year, which is insane. But if you want a real answer, I'd like to avoid duplicates on the cover, right? So I don't think I'd go Aaron Judge. I don't think I'd go Bryce Harper, even though I think he might deserve it the most, considering the crazy run that the Phillies went on. And as a Yankees fan, it really pains me to say that I think the best cover athlete might be Yordan Alvarez. I think he just had an insane season. He absolutely mashed, and he took the Astros all the way. So
I think the one thing that hurts Jordan is exactly what Evan was talking about. I feel like he has a personality, but it's just not that. It's not as outgoing as Jazz. You know what I mean? It's not as flashy. You know,
right.
He just quietly does his business in Houston, and he's just getting better and better. But that is a great choice.
What about you?
Yeah, because is there somebody else on here?
No, I think he was talking to me. He's throwing the question back at me. Because,
sorry.
Like I said, Julio Rodriguez would be the first, but I had a couple others. Yeah, like I said, we went through this on my podcast, and I'm thinking out of left field here, and most people probably won't like this answer, but why not put Edwin Diaz on there on the cover? I mean, think about how it went viral. You know what I mean? The Narcos theme. Everybody was talking about his entrance, and you could even make the Legendary Edition Mariano Rivera. So then you have an all New York, you know what I mean, cover. So that would be my choice. And like I said, that's where I bring up the pitcher. I still think that you can put guys who are flashy as pitchers, may not be as flashy as the hitters, but I think that they could still be part of that game and inject personality into it.
I like where your head's at with the Edwin Diaz thing, and I'll tell you why. The Edwin Diaz Narcos theme, that was legitimately a cultural moment. Like, there wasn't a single place you could go in 2022 without hearing those trumpets. And even to this day, baseball season's been over for like 4 months now. That season's been over and done with. He hasn't pitched since October. And still, they're going to play it at the Super Bowl. They're going to play those trumpets at some point in the Super Bowl. You go to a basketball game, NBA or college, and you hear those trumpets. You go to a hockey game, and you're going to hear those trumpets. Like, the trumpets are still everywhere. That was genuinely a cultural moment. So I see where your head's at with Edwin Diaz.
Take what goes viral. Take what goes viral, because what is it? Everyone always talks about what goes viral. What's on TikTok? What's everybody doing? I mean, those things, they go through so fast.
Yeah, and I think we could about wrap it up with that. It's been about 25 minutes, so it's pretty good. And just to close it out, it sounds like we agreed on two things. If the point of this cover was to stir up controversy, they did a really good job. It's probably one of the most talked about MLB The Show covers ever. And then secondly, fan votes are awesome and should be applied more often. If either of you want to wrap up with a conclusion, just maybe your mind was changed, maybe you still feel the same way, go for it. Evan, you could start.
Nah, I still feel like Jazz was a good choice.
Yeah, I'm the same. I do believe there was better choices. I will say that Evan talked me a little bit into thinking that don't pay attention to the biggest stats. So he did sway me in thinking like people like Judge should be on there. So I will give him credit where credit is due. I do think you need both, not just one. But I do stick by that there was better options with better stats and just as good of a personality with J Rod.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, you guys. I really appreciate it. I think it was an electric first episode, and we definitely talked about some great stuff, hit some great points on the Jazz Chisholm cover. So just thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, awesome. That should about do it.